Greetings from Namibia. My name is Bertha Mudamburi. I work at the University of Namibia. This presentation is about draft animal issues, constraints, and opportunities in Africa. We are presenting this together with Professor Paul Starkey from the University of Reading. This is actually a continuation from the previous presentation that was done by Professor Starkey. My presentation outline is going to be introduction, historical perspective, current status and trends, challenges, opportunities, and recommendations. As a way of introduction, this presentation will provide an overview of the situation in Sub-Saharan Africa. It is based on observations, literature, research studies, and networking exchanges. There is a lack of recent data and statistics on draft animal ownership and trends within Sub-Saharan Africa. Many recent reports do not give a realistic perspective of the overall situation. The data that is available is based on small-scale projects who are involved in research, promotion, or welfare, and they have to justify their funding and effort. As a historical perspective, draft animals have been used for millennia in North and Northeast Africa. In Sub-Saharan Africa, pastoralists have probably used cattle for pack transport for thousands of years. Transport animals such as horses, donkeys, and camels have spread through the Sahelian zone before the colonial era, as did some milling technologies. Draft animals were systematically introduced in colonial times, initially for transport around ports and subsequently for agriculture. Horses were used primarily for transport around ports and in the drier and highland areas. Oxen were used for transport and for agriculture, particularly in areas with higher rainfall, whereas donkeys were mainly used for transport in dry areas. What is the current status and trends in Sub-Saharan Africa? In Ethiopia, the ancient Maresha plow is still widely used with oxen as are pack donkeys. In the semi-arid regions of West Africa, Central Africa, East and Southern Africa, use of cattle and donkeys has become part of smallholder farming systems. Cattle are multi-purpose animals that are kept for milk, hide, manure, and paying of lobola and for transport and tillage. Historically, draft animals were used mainly for motorboat plowing and transport, but diversification to weeding and conservation tillage is on the increase. Cattle are largely absent from the humid forest zones and animal traction is rare, but it is increasing at the interface where deforestation is creating savanna ecosystems. Light horses are mainly used for transport in highland plateau areas such as Ethiopia and Lesotho, and in temperate subtropical areas in Southern Africa and also the Sahelian region. Donkeys are mainly used for transport in the semi-arid zones. Donkeys do not thrive in high rainfall areas, but from 1950 to 2000, the range of donkeys expanded, mainly due to climate change and deforestation. What is the current status and trends in Sub-Saharan Africa? Donkeys were increasingly used for tillage as well as transport, partly as they were cheap and the risk of theft was low. From 2000, Chinese demand for Ichao greatly increased the donkey values and led to a decimation of some donkey populations. Some African governments, however, such as Nigeria, Kenya, and Burkina Faso, have passed some laws that prohibit the sale of donkeys or their skins to maintain their populations. We have challenges, however. In motorized transport, cars and lorries have largely replaced long-distance animal transport for people and goods. Equid transport is increasingly replaced by motorcycles and three-wheelers in places such as Ethiopia, Kenya, Nigeria, and Tanzania. Motorized transport has increased greatly in the past 50 years, but the use of animal power for local transport has not experienced a proportionate decline. Ox carts and donkey carts are still widely used for local transport, as are pack donkeys. We have more challenges with tractorization as governments, donor agencies, and people aspire to modern tractor farming. Tractorization is economically viable for large-scale farms, but it is economically and logistically problematic for smallholder rain-fed systems. Despite huge investment and subsidies for smallholder mechanization in the past 50 years, there are few examples of private sector sustainable and unsubsidized smallholder tractor expansion in Sub-Saharan Africa. Draft animal use is almost entirely private sector, sustainable and unsubsidized. Although tractors and draft animals can complement each other, governments, donor agencies, and people want to see smallholder tractorization. We have a major challenge with draft animals, which is the negative connotation as people view draft animals as backward. Through many influences such as films, media, urbanization, and modernization, animal traction is a negative and backward connotation. We have more challenges in institutional neglect and welfare concerns. There is minimal support for draft animals from governments, political leaders, and development agencies. While most draft animals are well cared for, there are welfare problems as people use draft animals for long periods, and some people use inappropriate harnesses. We also have challenges with costs, theft, and supplies. With the value of animals increasing, draft animals become less affordable and more prone to theft. With the advent of better roads, this makes it easier to quickly move and sell stolen animals, especially the draft animals that we want. We also have market changes and subsequently fewer stores stock draft animal implements. Fewer local artisans such as blacksmiths, cut makers, and farriers also specialize in supporting use of draft animals. We, however, have opportunities. In environmental issues, draft animals are a renewable, ecological, sustainable resource that can improve resilience to climate change. Draft animals can contribute to the sustainable management of agricultural land, forests, and environmentally sensitive zones, and helps to preserve biodiversity. With climate change increasing droughts and making feed resources less predictable, donkeys that require less grazing and water offer an alternative to oxen. There are more opportunities with conservation, tillage, and sustainable agriculture. Conservation tillage is environmentally friendly with minimal soil disturbance, reduction in soil erosion, increased soil fertility, increased soil moisture, and reduction in soil compaction. Research in northern Namibia showed conservation tillage using draft animals is beneficial and has the potential to make smallholder agriculture more sustainable and productive. While using draft animals for conventional tillage can be slow, conservation tillage still allows faster land preparation for smallholder farmers. We have more opportunities with conservation tillage in sustainable agriculture. In many parts of Africa, conservation tillage is being promoted. For example, farmers in Chamba district in Zimbabwe were introduced to an animal traction direct seeder, which allows seeding and fertilizing directly into crop residues with minimum soil disturbance. In the Sahel, much animal drone cultivation involves time tillage or direct seeding. We have more opportunities with champions. For example, in January 2021, the mayor of Windhoek was seen plowing in Zambezi region of Namibia, and a video was spotted on Facebook. Of the more than 300 comments on Facebook, about 70% were positive and in support of draft animals. But 30% thought this technology was taking Namibians back to the Stone Age. We have more opportunities in networking and promotion. The famous Animal Traction Network for Eastern and Southern Africa at NESA and national networks such as SANAT have promoted animal traction information exchange and produced many resource publications that are still widely used in Africa and elsewhere. One of the examples is the Kenya Network for Dissemination of Agricultural Technologies, KENDAT, which still empowers communities on the importance of donkeys in Kenya. And use of donkeys for transport has made a huge difference in some farmers' household incomes in Kenya. We also have opportunities with students and young people, where experience from Namibia suggests that draft animals can improve smallholder farmers' timeliness and workload through environmentally friendly tillage and transport. Many students from the University of Namibia still view draft animals as available resources that are relevant to smallholder farmers, as draft animals are affordable, environmentally friendly, reduce drudgery of farm tillage operations, they enhance timeliness of operations and can be used with less soil disturbance than tractors. Draft animals can also be used for rural transport with carts or packs to carry water, farm produce, and food. For resource-poor farmers, draft animals are better than manual tillage. So what are the recommendations coming out of these presentations? Africa still needs leaders, political support, and relevant investment to ensure the continuity and development of draft animal power with a critical mass of users and support services. We also still need national and international organizations that could have a major impact by providing more information, educational systems, and the media, explaining the benefits of animal traction in a modern world. We also need networks that are effective for sharing information and providing the critical mass needed for influence, recognition, and professional support. Thank you very much for listening to our presentation.